My name is Daniel Carter, and I'm 22. Senior year. One semester left. At this point, college doesn't feel like discovery anymore. It feels like endurance. Everyone's either chasing internships, falling apart, or pretending they're not already burnt out. I was somewhere in between. Most of my classes had blurred together into a string of PowerPoints, overpriced textbooks, and professors who barely remembered our names. Except for one. Her name was Ms. Caldwell. 35. She taught contemporary literature, and she didn't walk into classrooms. She entered them like she belonged to a different world entirely. Crisp suits, tied-back auburn hair, dark glasses when she arrived early, a thin silver watch on her wrist, and the kind of calm that made even the loudest students quieter. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her silence was sharper than most people's yelling. She graded hard. She remembered everything. And somehow that only made her more magnetic. I wasn't the kind of guy who chased teachers or daydreamed during lectures. I was focused, quiet, background noise in most rooms. But something about her posture, her restraint, the way she looked at people like she already knew their whole story, got under my skin. The first time I noticed it was during a Thursday lecture. She was asking about character intent in a novel I hadn't finished reading. I gave a half guess. She paused, looked straight at me, her eyebrow lifted slightly, like she saw through the bluff but didn't call me out. She just said, "Try again." I did, and she nodded. It wasn't flirtation. It wasn't anything, really, but the heat in my face said otherwise. After that, I started paying more attention. Not just to the material, but to her. Her voice. The way she'd remove her glasses before speaking for real. The way she'd mark papers with red ink but pause sometimes, as if rereading a sentence for something more than grammar. I never thought she noticed me the same way. I wasn't top of the class. I wasn't charming or outspoken. I was steady, reliable, invisible in a room full of noise. Until last Monday. We had a paper due. I submitted it, but it was late. She didn't mark it immediately. She sent a reply, "See me after class." That was it. When class ended, everyone filed out. I hesitated. She stood by her desk, sorting papers into folders. Her blazer was unbuttoned for once, revealing a black blouse tucked neatly into gray slacks. Professional, sharp, nothing out of place. I stepped closer. "You wanted to see me?" She looked up. Her eyes were dark, unreadable. "Close the door," she said. I paused. Not a request. A simple instruction. I reached back and pushed the door shut. Clicked softly behind me. She didn't sit down. She stayed standing, arms lightly crossed, papers still in her hand. "I assume you know why you're here," she said. I nodded. "The paper. I know I turned it in late." She tilted her head slightly. "That's part of it." I swallowed. There was a pause. Her gaze lingered, not challenging, not soft either. Just steady. "You've been distracted," she said. "In class, in your writing, even in how you walk in and sit down." I didn't know what to say. My hands curled into my sleeves. "I've taught long enough to recognize the signs," she added. I gave a weak laugh. "Am I that obvious?" "Not to most," she replied. "But I pay attention." Another pause. She stepped closer to the desk, set the folder down. "You're not like the others," she said simply. "Which is why I'm giving you a chance to fix this." I appreciate that. Her eyes scanned mine slowly. "Do you?" "I do." "Good." She turned slightly, walked toward the bookshelf behind her desk. The movement was casual, unhurried. She adjusted a stack of books. I watched the way her fingers lingered on the edges, how precise she was, even with something so small. Then she turned back to face me, and she said it. "You're not here for extra credit, are you?" I froze. Her tone hadn't changed. Still calm. Still level. But the words echoed louder than they should have. She didn't smile. She didn't blink. Just waited. And in that moment, the air in the room changed. Like the door I'd just closed had sealed us inside something neither of us planned for. But neither of us was ready to step away from either. I didn't answer right away, because she wasn't smiling. She wasn't teasing. And the way she looked at me, it wasn't playful. It was quiet, serious, like she'd said something irreversible on purpose, just to see what I'd do with it. I came to talk about the paper, I said finally, though my voice sounded smaller than I expected. Miss Caldwell didn't move. Her arms still rested gently over her chest, but her eyes searched my face like she was reading a novel she'd already half memorized. "You're a smart student," she said after a beat. "You know how to construct a sentence, you know how to hide behind analysis. But lately, your writing's been hollow, empty, like you're trying to sound present without actually being there." I looked down. I couldn't hold her gaze. "Not like that." She stepped to the side of the desk, closer. Just one step, but it closed the space between us enough that I could hear the fabric of her slacks shift when she moved. "I'm not here to punish you," she said, "but I need to know something." I looked up. "Are you distracted by me?" The question was gentle, almost clinical, but not cold, not detached. I didn't speak. She sighed quietly. "Because if you are, I'd rather hear it than pretend we both don't feel what's happening in this room." My throat tightened. I tried to speak, but the words caught on something deeper, like my own admission would change more than just the air between us. "I didn't mean for it to happen," I said quietly. "It just did." "I know." I blinked. "You're not the first student to look at me differently," she added. "But you're the first I looked back at." Her voice barely rose above a whisper on those last words. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was thick, loaded, but calm in a strange way, like we'd crossed into some invisible truth neither of us had the power to reverse. She turned slightly, leaned her back against the edge of the desk, resting both hands on its surface behind her. "This isn't appropriate," she said. "I know that. So do I. But I also know when someone sees me, not just the teacher, not just the role." "I do," I said before I could stop myself. "See you, I mean." Her expression softened. Her eyes dropped to the floor for a second, like she wasn't used to hearing that out loud. "I noticed it the first time you stayed after class," she said. "You didn't ask questions. You just lingered, like you were trying to figure something out you weren't ready to name. I guess I was. And now I can't stop thinking about you." Came out more honest than I expected. But I didn't want to take it back. Her fingers curled tighter around the desk. "I'm not good at this," she said. "Letting go. Especially not here. Not in this place, where every wall listens and everything is under a microscope. You don't have to be good at it." She looked up at me again. For a long time, neither of us moved. "Come here," she said finally. Soft, barely audible. I took a step forward. Not a bold one. Not dramatic. Just enough to bring me in front of her. Close enough to feel the warmth coming off her skin. The scent of soft perfume. The breath she exhaled when I stopped moving. "I need to know this isn't a game to you," she said, eyes locked on mine. "It's not. Because I won't risk everything for curiosity." "You're not a curiosity," I said. "You're the only person who's made me feel like I'm not invisible." That landed harder than I expected. I could see it in her expression. She reached up slowly, touched the sleeve of my shirt with just 2 fingers. Nothing suggestive, nothing obvious, just presence. "I haven't touched anyone like this in almost a year," she whispered. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even try. Her hand lingered at my shoulder, then dropped. "This can't go further," she said, but her voice trembled just slightly. "Not here. Not yet." I nodded. She looked toward the closed door. "It's late. The halls are probably empty. But that doesn't mean we're safe." "I didn't come here for safe." She smiled, and it was the first smile that wasn't for the classroom. It wasn't polite. It was real, quiet, sad almost. "I wish you hadn't come at all," she said. "Do you mean that?" Her silence answered for her. Then she pushed off from the desk, walked slowly around me toward the door. I thought she was going to open it, but she didn't. She stopped right next to it, hand on the knob, then looked over her shoulder. Her voice was steady again, composed. "I'll mark your paper as late, but accepted." I nodded. "Thank you. You'll need to do better next time." "I will." A pause. Then she turned the handle. But before she pulled the door open, she said it again. Low, quiet, not turning to look. "You're not here for extra credit, are you?" "No," I said, and then I left the room. But everything inside me stayed behind. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because anything had happened, because it hadn't. Not really. But the almost of it stayed with me. The weight in her voice. The way she'd touched my sleeve. The moment she said, "You're not here for extra credit," again, even after everything. It wasn't a joke. It was a challenge, an admission, a warning, and I carried it with me. For days, nothing changed. In class, she was as composed as ever. Professional. Unreadable. She called on me twice. Didn't hold eye contact longer than necessary. She never smiled. But once, when everyone was packing up their bags, she brushed past my desk. Her hand moved to the corner of it like she was steadying herself. Her fingers grazed mine, barely, and I knew it wasn't over. That Friday I got an email. Not through the school system. It was her personal address. "Room 207 is empty after 4. No cameras in the hallway. If you need to talk, I'll be there." That was all it said. No greeting, no signature. But I knew who it was from. At 4:11 I knocked. The room was dim. No overheads. Just a desk lamp and the golden spill of late afternoon sun through the blinds. It wasn't her classroom. It was one of those unused faculty rooms that smelled like printer toner and carpet cleaner. She stood by the window, arms crossed. "You came," she said. "You asked." She nodded once, but didn't smile. "I thought I'd regret sending that." "Do you?" "I don't know yet." There was no desk between us this time. No barrier. Just space. And silence. She looked older in this light. Not tired. Just real. The edge in her posture was softer now, but still guarded. Like she was waiting to see if I'd make the first move. I didn't. "You've been quiet," she said. I didn't know what I was allowed to say. She turned to face me fully. "And now, I don't want to keep pretending we didn't feel it." She didn't look away. "You think I haven't tried to forget it? I think you failed." Her laugh was dry. Not cruel, just honest. "I've had students flirt before. It's not new. I'm not flirting. I know." She took a slow breath, stepped toward the table by the wall. Her hand rested on the edge, fingers curling around it for balance. "I was married once," she said out of nowhere. "Briefly. He was older, cold, respected. Everyone thought we were a power couple. What happened? I realized I didn't like being invisible." She said it without blinking. "I wasn't seen for who I was, just for the role I played. And now I teach. I control the room. I don't get close. I don't feel anything that could cost me." I took a step forward. "You felt something." She nodded slowly. "That's what terrifies me." Another step. Why me? She didn't answer right away. Then, because you listen. Because you look at me like I'm still human. You are. Most people don't treat me like it. Silence. Then she moved finally. Not fast. Not dramatic. She stepped close, close enough for me to feel her presence again. The warmth of her, the faint scent of perfume and paper and something softer. I need you to understand something, she said, her voice quieter now. If I let this go any further, I can't pretend it was an accident. I can't claim confusion. I'm not confused. Good. She raised her hand, slowly, and touched the side of my face. My breath caught. It wasn't sexual. It wasn't flirtatious. It was permission. I leaned into it. Then someone tried the door. The handle rattled once. We both froze. She stepped back instantly, hand dropping, face hardening like armor snapping back into place. I reserved the room, she whispered. But that doesn't mean people respect signs. The door didn't open, just a knock, and a voice. Professor Caldwell? She cleared her throat. Occupied. A pause. Then footsteps retreated. We stayed frozen in place, listening until the echo disappeared. When she turned back to me, something had changed. Not regret, not panic, resolve. She walked to the door, locked it with a sharp, deliberate click, then turned around. Still not here for extra credit? She asked. I shook my head. Good, she said. Then stop acting like we don't already know what this is. She stepped closer again, slow this time. No hesitation, no fear. I didn't move, couldn't. She reached out, touched the edge of my collar, straightened it slightly. I'm not going to sleep with you, she said bluntly. Not today, not here. I know, but I'm also not going to lie to myself anymore. Me neither. We stood there, two people standing in the wreckage of crossed lines. But neither of us looked away. She leaned in not for a kiss, just to rest her forehead against mine. And we stayed like that, breathing the same space, together. Finally, we didn't speak again that weekend. There were no texts, no emails, no late-night messages or coded subject lines. Just silence, but not empty silence. Something more like a shared breath held under the surface. Waiting. Monday came and she walked into class exactly on time, just as composed as ever. Her blazer was navy this time, hair pinned back with surgical precision. No lingering looks, no trace of anything that had happened behind the locked door in room 207. If anything, she was colder, stricter, focused, and I understood, because I did the same. I sat where I always sat. I took notes. I didn't glance up more than once. I answered when called. I didn't linger afterward. But beneath every minute of it was that moment, that breath, that closeness. It was real, and it hadn't gone anywhere. That Thursday, I stayed late in the library. Not for her, just for quiet. I told myself that. The essays were piling up, and I needed to focus. But around 5:20, I saw her. Miss Caldwell walked past the study tables on the second floor. She didn't look at me, didn't even glance in my direction. She carried a small leather folder, heels soft on the carpet, lips pressed into a straight line. But just before she rounded the corner to the faculty staircase, she dropped something. Deliberately, a folded note. It landed soundlessly between the shelves. She never looked back. I waited a full minute before standing. The note wasn't sealed, just a single line written in neat, sharp handwriting. You still see me? That was it. No time, no place, no name, just a question. I carried it in my pocket the rest of the day. Didn't answer, didn't chase, but I wasn't going to ignore it. The next day, I passed her in the hall between buildings. Her eyes brushed over me like I was no one. But as we crossed paths, she said, barely audible, "My office, after 4." She didn't stop walking. That afternoon, I waited until the last possible moment. Then I knocked. This time, the door was unlocked. The light was soft. No blinds drawn, no barriers. She sat behind her desk, not looking up. A mug of tea sat beside her. She was wearing a burgundy sweater, sleeves pushed up. She looked different, not undone, but unguarded. "You came," she said. "I keep doing that." Her mouth twitched, almost a smile. She gestured toward the chair across from her. "You're safe here. For now." I sat. The silence stretched, but it wasn't tense. It was full, like a room that remembered things. She looked at me, really looked. "I used to be afraid of what people would think," she said. "Now I'm afraid of what I'll feel if I don't let it happen." "You don't have to be afraid with me." Her gaze softened. "That's the problem. I'm not." Neither of us moved. "I can't offer you anything," she said eventually. "No relationship. No guarantees. No clarity. I didn't ask for that." "I know. That's why I'm still talking." A long pause. "Do you regret the room?" I asked. She shook her head. "I regret how much I wanted it." And just like that, the mask slipped again. She leaned forward, elbows resting gently on the desk between us. "I don't know where this is going," she said, "but I'm tired of punishing myself for wanting to be seen." "You're not invisible anymore." The weight of those words hung between us. "I need rules," she said. "Okay. This stays between us. Understood. No more locked doors." I paused. Then leave them open." Her lips curled just slightly. "You're dangerous." "I'm honest." She stood slowly, walked around the desk, but didn't stop beside me. Instead, she moved toward the window, pulled it open an inch, let the late afternoon air drift in. Her hair moved slightly in the breeze. Then she turned back to me. "I'm going to regret this if I'm not careful." "Then don't be careful." She laughed once, quiet and low. I stood. The distance between us now felt like a decision. "I'll go," I said, "before we break your next rule." "You already did," she replied, eyes locked on mine. "The day you walked into my class and actually saw me, I didn't say goodbye. I just opened the door. And this time I left it open behind me."